Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified. We'll take up a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition, from the perspective of civil service examination. The topics that we will take up for discussion has been tabulated on your screen. The time stamping for the same has given in the description section. Before we get started for today's discussion, there is an important announcement. This will enhance your learning experience from DNS. We have started mains question assignment on RAU'S ELEARN platform. If you go to the ELEARN platform, you will find a tab Mains Assignment Questions. If you click it, you will find a question already has been posted for this week. Similarly, a question was posted last week, which is this. Privatization of Indian railways, although a step in right direction, is not panacea. Discuss. Already 200 answers have been posted for this question. For this week, we have posted this question. Discuss the important steps taken by Government of India during COVID-19 crisis to ensure food security for the poor and marginalized section of our society. All those who will submit this answer by July 19th, end of the day, will get detailed evaluation and feedback from teachers of RAU'S. This question has been taken from DNS of 1st of July under the topic Free Food Grain Scheme till November plus Paswan welcomes Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana scheme. You may refer to the DNS of that date for more clarity on the topic and then you can attempt writing the answer. There are few things that you need to understand regarding posting your answer here. First and foremost, write your answer within word limit. In today's question, the word limit is 150 words and you can stretch at most till 175 words. Equally important is the time limit. You should keep a watch on how much time you take to answer the question. You should also mention the time you have taken to write the answer. Please take care that you are posting the answer by commenting on the main thread and not to someone else's answer. Otherwise, you may not get the feedback for your submission. You must post the image in the portrait form, vertically, and not in the landscape mode, that is horizontally. Also, you are not expected to post your answer as a comment to this post. Rather, what you should do is, when you click on this question, you will get a dialog box like this, and here there is an icon for inserting an image. You should post your answer by clicking on this image icon. All the very best, and I hope you will all attempt this question with full zeal and get it evaluated. This article has been taken from page number 6. It has been titled, China's post-COVID aggression is reshaping Asia. This is a very important article in the present global geopolitical scenario. Be sure, absolutely sure, there will be one question in the coming mains examination, whenever that will happen, perhaps early next year, on aggression of China and the strategy to counter it. We will club the discussion of this article with two more articles. On page number 14, one with the headline, Trump ends Hong Kong's special trade status, back sanction, and the other, China lashes out at UK for Huawei ban. We will carry out our discussion in 3 stages. In the first stage, we will understand the aggression that has been carried out by China since early this year. In the second stage of our discussion, we will see the natural retaliation to the aggression and the response in the form of strengthening of various groups to counter the Chinese aggression. Finally, in the third stage of our discussion, we will see the feasibility of a strong anti-China grouping and whether that is viable in Asia. First of all, let us see the instances of China's post-COVID aggression. China has gone all out. China has opened up battlefront with many countries. Let us see the most important instances of aggression by China. We all are aware of the deadly encounter that China had with India in the Galwan Valley. China is also creating trouble with countries in South China Sea. China had standoff with Vietnam. China has been sending its patrolling ships in the Vietnam's water where Vietnam is planning drilling and extraction of resources. China has also established new districts in South China Sea and gave new names to the islands in the region. This has only provoked the other nations in the region. China also has increased its aggressive stand with Australia. China has threatened Australia with boycotts of wines, beef, barley, and Chinese students Chinese students goes in large number in Australian universities. If Chinese students stop going, there will be big loss to the universities in Australia. Chinese interference in Taiwan is well known. However, China now has started direct confrontation. In March, Taiwan's new Coast Guard administration patrol vessel was damaged by Chinese fishing vessel. China has been conducting unwanted night drills in Taiwan Strait, ostensibly to oppose US support for Taiwan's sovereignty. China has been going after countries which are not seen traditionally as adversaries to China. There has been instances of encroachment of fisheries by Chinese in the Indonesian water. China has been creating trouble even with Malaysia. Unnecessarily, China deployed a naval ship for the purpose of survey just behind West Campella, which was a drill ship contracted by Malaysia's national oil company. These steps are seen unnecessary and unprovoked by anyone. China is just playing these psychological games with these smaller nations in the region. China has also gone after the autonomy of Hong Kong. Even after the warning for retaliation by US, China has gone ahead and legislated a national security bill for Hong Kong. This legislation will strip the Hong Kongers of their freedom and their rights. They will not have even the right to criticize the mainland Chinese government. China has been testing water even in East China Sea, and this is not a good sign for countries like Japan. China has deployed an aircraft carrier in the Miyako Strait, which is an important sea link in the region. China's trouble with US now has been for long and deep. The trade war between the two nations has been going on for long, but direct confrontation has not happened yet. But there are small signs of confrontation in South China Sea. Recently, US vessel conducting routine operation in the South China Sea was compelled by the Chinese Navy to leave the area. This perhaps was the most important instance of defying aggressive China. China has been taking trouble with otherwise neutral nations like Canada as well. 2 Canadians were detained by China as a retaliation following the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, the chief financial officer of the Chinese technology company Huawei. He was arrested in Vancouver by the Canadian administration on the charges that was filed in United States. So it's clear that China is going to take on any country which it sees as ally of US in anti-China grouping. That is why China has been meddling with Taiwan to oppose the US support for Taiwan's sovereignty. These are some of the important instances which raise an alarm bell. Any one of that should not be looked as an isolated aberration in China's foreign policy. Rather, all of them should be looked at an integrated, well-planned policy that China has been building up for a decade, ever since President Xi Jinping came at the helm of the affairs. There will obviously be reaction against unwanted Chinese aggression. Many countries have taken retaliatory measures against China, and regional strategic groups are being utilized to formulate an appropriate response. For instance, India, Australia, Malaysia, Japan, they all have taken concrete steps to reduce their economic exposure to Beijing. India and Australia have signed a new military logistic agreement in the recent virtual summit. A similar agreement is expected to be signed between India and Japan. The quadrilateral dialogue between India, Australia, Japan and US is growing stronger. ASEAN, which is mostly led by Malaysia and is presently chaired by Indonesia, protested very strongly on the issue of South China Sea, insisting that maritime disputes must be resolved under the realm of UN, under UN Law of the Sea Treaty, in obvious protest against the activities of China in the region. US obviously has taken the most hardened stand against China. US also has withdrawn the preferential trade treatment from Hong Kong. Many of the Chinese mainland companies are based in Hong Kong, and hence they enjoyed the preferential trade treatment that was given to Hong Kong. Now, since the preferential trade treatment has been withdrawn, the business in Hong Kong and indirectly of companies in China will be badly hurt. UK has decided to remove Chinese telecom giants Huawei from its 5G network by 2027. This is the big hit to the Chinese tech giant and also to China. China has not taken this very well, and China has threatened UK of some retaliatory measures. But this business of retaliatory measures, how it will work out, this is to be seen in the coming times. Opposition to the China has not come just from sovereign governments, it has come from general people as well. There is an online campaign going on in the name of Milk Tea Alliance. The purpose is to forge solidarity for Taiwanese, the Hong Kongers, and citizens of other Southeast Asian nations who are victim of Chinese hegemony. Okay, these are the countries against whom China has shown aggression. And these are the countries which has taken substantial measures against Chinese aggression. Now, if we have to look at the global geopolitics, how it will work out in the next 1 decade, we have to look at 3 things. Number 1, any anti-China strategy has to be centered at US. US has the economic and military might. Apart from that, the temperament and readiness to take on China. Other countries can do it only in a limited way. For instance, Japan and Australia can only institutionally fight against China, for instance, from the forum of G7. India is heavily dependent on trade with China, especially the pharmaceutical industries. So India cannot snap all ties with China just like that. There will be only proportionate response to China from countries like India. So US has to take lead, and all regional and global strategy of countering Chinese aggression have to be nucleated around US. Now the question is US ready to take this role? Or if at all US is ready, is US following the right strategy? The article says no. The US is not following the right strategy because of the following reasons. First of all, US is following a protectionist regime, which is encouraging deglobalization across the world. So US is pulling out of its role of a global leader. Secondly, if US has to act as the center of any global strategy, it has to be ready to compromise. It has to be ready to work in the interest of its allies, which US does not seem to be doing. For instance, the visa issue. The US administration's suspension of various work visa is a move that will almost have serious repercussion in India. US is also now taking decisions unilaterally, not taking its allies on board. For instance, the decision to pull out of WHO, to cut off its funding, that has not gone well with countries like Australia. Australia wanted the investigation in the COVID-19 issue through the institution of WHO. Australia never wanted this institution to be dismantled. If you come to think of it, US has created a big problem for India. And in the DNS of day before yesterday, it was covered in detail as how Iran has put off India from its rail project. This rail project was to be completed by the collaboration of India. This was crucial for India to get into Afghanistan bypassing Pakistan. That was the whole plan. That was the plan of building Chabahar port. So the Chabahar port was not just a port, it was a point for onward link to Afghanistan and Central Asia for trade and bringing mineral from the rich mineral resource region of Afghanistan. Now everything has been snapped. Why? Because Indian companies were reluctant to take up the project in Iran because of US sanction. Because obviously Indian companies have to collaborate with companies of other countries which were not exempted from the project. That is why there was reluctance and hence inordinate delay. But in the back channel, Chinese must also have pressurized the Iranian administration to cancel it off. But this is a huge loss to India. Similarly, US pulling out from Afghanistan. This has created power vacuum. And Russia and China are trying to fill it up. Russia does not see China as its adversary. So Russia is not going to be a major player in any anti-China geopolitical strategy. The bottom line is US is pulling out from the global role and US is not taking care of its allies. Allies are at the risk of getting pushed to the corner. So it is very less likely that there is going to be enough trust between US and its allies, and hence chances are grim that US is going to be the nucleus of any global anti-China strategy. Point number 2 is how are the dynamics among the nation who are the victim of Chinese aggression or who want to contain the Chinese aggression is playing out. And also the role of power blocs like Russia and EU who have been neutral so far is very important. The most important platform for anti-China strategy is Quad. But the problem with Quad is that Japan is not a military power. and Australia does not have active military participation in the region. In that case, India is really left on its own because chances is bleak that US is going to participate with active military intervention in the region. So if there is going to be a border issue, for example, which is happening presently in the northern frontier, then India is really on its own. So in that sense, countering China as a group does not seem to be a possibility. Second important regional strategic group against China is ASEAN. But the problem is the dynamics recently between ASEAN and India has not been very well because India and Malaysia has got into trouble. Malaysia act as a torchbearer of ASEAN. India also has not participated in RCEP, which has not pleased other nations. So relationship of India in the region is already strained. So any chance of active participation between ASEAN and India to counter China is also very bleak. Then EU, as we have talked about previously in the DNS, has been largely neutral. The policy of EU has been independent of Washington. And because of very strong economic relation between EU and China, EU is not expected to take any hardened stand against China. Russia does not see China as an adversary or a bully or an aggressor. Russia and China has a strong relationship. They have been doing military exercises together in Pakistan, in Baltic Sea, in China. But Russia and India has very warm and strong relation. Straining relation between India and China is bound to affect this dynamic as well. And in absence of any other major regional power, China will go unchecked if proper coordination will not be happening. There is a third important thing that has to be brought into consideration, which the article has not. Article has highlighted that there has been aggression, and article also has highlighted that there has been reaction to that aggression. But that does not mean that China is in all danger because of these reactions. China has silently been strengthening its foothold throughout the globe. And that dynamics also has to be considered in order to do any reasonable prediction of global geopolitics in the coming decade. First and foremost, one of the most important geopolitical issue for India in these days is the issue of Iran cancelling the project for India. We know that China is about to get into an agreement with Iran. There is also news that China might get the project for jackpot. And there is also a threat that Chinese must have pressurized Iranian administration to cancel this project for India. And if that is the case, then China would be strengthening its roots in Iran. And from there, it can expand in Central Asia as well. You already know that Nepal has gone too far away from India and too close to China. Economics is one reason, but here in case of Nepal, there is ideological reason as well. Because Sri Lanka and Bangladesh also has gone close to China, but not to the degree of Nepal. So in case of Nepal, apart from economics, ideology is also playing a major role. China has pressurized Maldives and Seychelles as well. India faced stiff resistance from Maldives over placing its helicopter in Maldives' Addu atoll recently. And Seychelles has cancelled the Indian project for development of Assumption Island. We also have seen in the DNS dated 13th of July that China initiated way back in 2012 16+1 format. And this format has become a platform for China to cooperate with Central and Eastern European nations. China also has developed its roots in Greece. China has bought many ports in Greece and also has a stake in the largest port of Greece. Pakistan in the region is an all-weather friend of China and equally ready to create trouble in the region. China already have very good relation with Russia because Russia is also facing sanction from US. Enemy of your enemy is obviously your friend. So China is not running out of allies and friends. In this scenario, any anti-China global strategy will work only if it is meticulously planned and well cooperated. Now the question is, what can be done? I have given some suggestions as mentioned in the article in the DNS PDF notes, but I would like you to do a little bit of thinking. By the discussion of previous 15 minutes, you must have got enough food for your thought. Think a little as to what could be a global strategy and where India can participate to check this aggressive stand of China. There is a news on page number 9, Supreme Court to hear appeal against Maratha quota. Maratha quota has been a long-standing issue in the state of Maharashtra. In 2018, the state government allowed 16% reservation to Marathas in the educational institutions and public employment in the state of Maharashtra. And fearing a struck down by the court, the state government of Maharashtra amended the Socially and Economically Backward Class Reservation Act 2018. This was done with the purpose of paving the way to legally impose this 16% reservation. This matter was raked up during the admission to MBBS colleges and dental colleges in the state. The matter was taken to Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court declared the Maratha quota as constitutionally valid, but asked the state government to reduce the quota for locals in the range of 12 to 13%. So now the state government reduced the 16% to 12%. This year again, when the issue of admission into MBBS colleges and dental colleges came up in the state, the issue has been raked up again and a petition was filed in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has agreed for a day-to-day hearing on the matter, and hence soon a judgment will come from the apex court. The grievance of the petitioner is that reservation has gone too far. The argument is that till 2018, there was 52% reservation in the state. Then in 2019, Center introduced 10% reservation for economically and socially backward classes. Over and above this, now there is 12% reservation for Marathas. This adds up to 74%, which means that only 26% of seats in educational institutions and public employment will be available to general category. The main argument against this exorbitantly high reservation is mainly the guideline that was set by the Supreme Court in the famous Indira Sawhney judgment. In Indira Sawhney case, Supreme Court has fixed the maximum reservation to 50%. But however, in 2019, Center has introduced 10% reservation for EWS category. So if you see that way, it should go maximum to 60%. This 74% still is much higher. So far, only the state of Tamil Nadu was exempted from this 50% capping, which had 69% reservation. So this is an important legal issue that Supreme Court has to clarify. The judgment will be coming soon, and this is something very important from the perspective of GS paper 2. You have to keep a close eye on this, and you have to understand the constitutional argument that the Supreme Court will be giving in the final judgment. There is a news on page number 1 regarding India and European Union 15th Summit that was held in the virtual format yesterday. The issue of free trade agreement between India and European Union was discussed in detail in yesterday's DNS by our illustrious Vaibhav sir. Vaibhav sir explained to you all the concept of FTA, the advantages of FTA, and the major roadblocks that is preventing FTA to happen between India and European Union. And as such, no progress has happened with regard to any trade agreement between India and European Union in yesterday's summit as well. But however, there has been other minor agreements that we will very quickly see. First of all, COVID-19 obviously was one of the important subject of discussion in yesterday's summit. Medical development on testings and development of vaccine was discussed, and both sides agreed to cooperate in this regard. US was also a subject of discussion because withdrawal of US from multilateral organization like WHO has created a lot of concern, especially in the wake of rising China. There was also negotiation for cooperation between Europol and CBI. There has been an agreement for the launch of Maritime Security Dialogue. How that platform will look like and what will be the nitty-gritty of that has not been known yet. Gradually it will come in the newspaper. But for now, you must know that such a platform for maritime security dialogue between India and European Union will be coming up. And an agreement on civil nuclear cooperation was finalized between both sides just before the summit. The civil nuclear cooperation will mostly be based on resource efficiency and circular economy. Since this was agreed upon just a day before the summit, the detail of this also is not known yet, which will gradually be known after its proper formulation. Regarding broad-based trade and investment agreement, and there was no concrete negotiation on this either. Apart from this, the leaders of European Union has raised two issues. One is the perceived protectionism of India, As you all know, the Make in India program was accelerated by the COVID-19 crisis, and the recent pronouncement that India wants to go self-reliant in the form of Atmanirbhar campaign has complicated the situation with European Union a little. They have raised concern that India might be taking protectionist stand in coming days, and this has created reluctance to take forward the negotiations of free trade agreement. Apart from that, they also have raised concern regarding situation in Jammu and Kashmir and the Citizenship Amendment Act. But simultaneously, they have also said that they respect the institutions of India and the sovereign right of government of India to manage its internal matter. With this, we have come to the end of the discussion for today. We'll take up question for the day. Since most of the topics that we have discussed today are from mains perspective, so we are not doing the prelims summary. However, there will be many questions in the DNS quiz, so please attempt that. The answer to yesterday's question is option A. Today's question is consider the following countries: Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, China, Australia, and Russia. Which of the above countries are not part of G7 grouping? Australia and Russia only, China, Australia, and Russia only, or Germany, Australia, China, and Russia only, or Germany, Italy, China, Australia, and Russia only. Once again, I remind you for attempting the DNS quiz. Thank you for watching the DNS. Have a great evening.